if there's not a confluence between your unconscious knowledge and your conscious knowledge, the result is anxiety, because you're at risk. Why can adults not reason with each other? Because they were fucking hit as children. Why can adults not find objective resolution to their disputes? Because they were bang, 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 hit as children.
And I think that is a choice, right? You can choose to think, or you can choose to avoid thinking, right?
Somebody just wrote and said, well, there are 4 kids in Australia who were unschooled and blah, 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 and they all have high-powered careers. My God, I mean, I know a tall Chinese guy, right? People, when they're ostracized, they experience the same pain as being physically tortured.
If women are so great at running relationships, then why is domestic violence so high in the lesbian community? Not a lot of penises floating around in the sea of vaginas known as the lesbian community, and domestic violence. And I know this. I had a roommate who was a lesbian and was constantly complaining about the level of violence and abuse in her coven, I guess. I don't know what you call them.
If you accept a virtue, you are responsible to that virtue. You are responsible for that virtue. That virtue has now become your child. And there's many statistics to make the argument that men are just as likely to be falsely accused of rape as women are to be actually raped. Which is worse? Well, if you get convicted of rape, you go to prison, where you get raped repeatedly rather than just once. So I know which one I would choose. I leave that to your sleepless 3 a.m. moral question turning.
Would you say that when people come to a fork in a road, they have a choice as to whether to go left or right?
I'm not sure that that's really important when it comes to free will. I mean, animals can do that. Apparently, like, while men like looking down at tits, women like looking up at nasal passages, because finding a woman to go out with a shorter man outside of the Jewish community does seem to be sort of tricky.
What you're doing is immoral. What you're doing is wrong. If now that you have the knowledge, if you cannot oppose what I'm saying logically or empirically, if you continue in your course of action, thou becomest evil.
Right.
Try that. Now, if you try that, I think you'll be really interested in how powerful and what an effect moral condemnation has in society. So then stop talking about evildoers and trying to get on the bandwagon of moral virtue when everything's just a different sized olive to you.
Well,
like, stop using the terms. I'm saying you don't fight evildoers. And you say, well, but I'm a libertarian. And I say, yes, but you told me you didn't fight evildoers. When you're like, well, but I do confront people that evil do. I said, but you don't believe in evil. You said, well, but it's the same when I have a negative. No. No, you are not a moralist. You are not a philosopher. So when a guy asks you over on Christmas Day and his house is empty, he's testing you to see whether you can spot crazy when it's like a fucking searchlight in your face, Kristen. That is a very bizarre thing to do.